Welcome to the Winner Will podcast for athletes, parents, and coaches. I'm Giselle Kruger, creator and founder of the Winner Will, where we help elite student athletes perform under pressure in sport, school, and life. Today we're going to talk about the 3 rules, which will address a very common obstacle student athletes face in their development. You're in the game and the pressure's on. You look around at everyone in the stands and suddenly you get this wave of fear. Maybe you can't stop wondering what all those people are thinking about you. You're distracted and then you mess up and you make a mistake, and in that moment you wish you could just sink into the floor and disappear. You feel like everyone's looking at you, judging you, and you beat yourself up for making another mistake. And the worst part is that this keeps happening over and over again, despite trying everything to keep yourself focused and calm. Does that sound familiar to you as a developing athlete? If so, then perhaps the burden of self, that unnecessary mental and emotional weight that athletes carry into competition, perhaps that's holding you back from reaching your true potential as a student athlete. I mean, when you think about it, who can perform well when you're stressed and worried about what everyone else is thinking? I don't think anyone can. So it's a major distraction, and these self-imposed challenges keep many athletes from performing their best when their best is needed. But here's the good news. You can overcome the burden of self with 3 simple rules. Now, I didn't sit down one day and say, okay, I'm going to write 3 rules for athletes to help them perform better. No, these things kind of came to me through decades of experience as an athlete and as a coach and life in general. Sort of like truisms that I've learned the hard way most of the time, whether it was as an athlete or a coach, a teacher, a guidance counselor, all the different roles in my life, a parent, a friend, a wife. And I found that when things are a little off for me, when I seem to be struggling in some area of my life, whether it was my training or my performance or relationships with my coaches or players, I find that a quick check, a quick review of the 3 rules helps me to get back on track. And it helps me get perspective as to what's real and what I have to do to be myself and do the work to get what I want. The 3 rules are a practical strategy to help you identify and remove the burden of self so that you'll be the one who can perform under pressure. Now, I've had former student athletes and graduates of the Winner Will who have moved on to the next phase of their lives and apply the things that they've learned from elite sport. And they've come back to share their successes with me. And inevitably, they mention how the 3 rules have had a significant positive impact on their life. And those who have applied the 3 rules to their lives often joke and say, basically there's 2 kinds of people in the world. Those who know the 3 rules and those who don't. You have to know the 3 rules. Here they are. Nobody cares, you're not that important, and it's not all about you. Now, at first, these rules may sound a little harsh. You might even say cruel or unkind, but they're actually a form of tough love. The 3 rules set you free from the burden of self-consciousness, self-importance, and self-absorption. When practiced, the 3 rules can be life-altering. They'll free you to be who you really are and take your performance in sport to a whole new level. So are you wondering how they work? Here's how. Rule number 1, nobody cares. First of all, this rule isn't saying that you're not a valuable person. Of course you are. And nobody, I don't mean that it's your loved ones or close friends or that they don't care about you. Of course they do. What I mean is all of those other people, teammates, classmates, social media, your opponents, people watching, the media, and the list goes on. It's what psychologist David Alkine refers to as the imaginary audience, where a person is convinced that her every move is being watched with interest by the rest of the world. You see, our tendency as humans is to convince ourselves that these other people really care about what we're doing and how we're doing it. But believe it or not, nobody cares. Nobody really cares that you made a mistake in competition. Nobody cares how fast you are or how much you've practiced, that you're having an off day or a good day, or whether you won or you lost. This isn't personal. It's just that you're not on other people's radar. That may be hard to believe in our social media saturated world, but it's true. So if nobody cares about you, what do they care about? They care about themselves. They have their own long list of things going on in their lives that they're thinking about, and you're not likely one of them. And your teammates and opponents probably don't care or even think about it at all if you make a big mistake or redeem yourself with a great play, because they're too busy thinking about what happens if they make the mistake or make the great play. So why is it important to know the first rule, that nobody cares? Because it sets you free. It sets you free from worrying about what other people think of you. It lets you focus your energy where it matters most, to be who you are, and really go for it in sport and in life. It lets you make mistakes and learn from them because it frees you from that negative self-talk. So if you're fretting over what everyone around you thinks about you, don't bother. You may tend to worry that everyone is looking at you, rating you, judging you, scrutinizing your every move. But the reality is, most people are focused on themselves. So let go of that self-consciousness and focus on doing what you do best. Be yourself. Do the work of training your body, your skills, and your mind, and you will be able to perform with confidence and peak under pressure. Okay, rule number 2, you're not that important. Now, as an athlete, it's important to clearly understand your role. You're an important member of the team, even if you compete as an individual in an individual sport. Look around you. There are likely several people who are a part of your team as you prepare for competition. So you're an important part of the team, but you're not more important than the team, even if you're the star player. Everyone on the team has a role, and no team functions without each member playing a part. So how can this rule help you? Well, take one of my former student athletes, Talon. She came to me before an important championship volleyball match and said, "Coach, I'm so nervous about tonight's match." I said, "Well, what's going on?" She said, "I'm afraid I'll be the one who makes the mistake that causes the whole team to lose the championship." She said, "I'd be so embarrassed. I'd feel so stupid. I'd be letting my team down." Well, in that moment, I knew I had to remind Talon of what she'd been learning and working on all season long. So I just leaned forward and I said, "Talon, you're not that important." She kind of smiles and she goes, "Oh, right." She takes a deep breath and she just said, "Oh, I just have to be myself. I'll give 100% of myself and do my job on the team." I said, "Exactly. Be yourself. Just do your part. It's going to be so fun." I said to her, "Talon, you are enough." So that night I'm on the sideline coaching the girls and the fans are going crazy. They're cheering and heckling, and we've battled it out with this team the whole season. And it all comes down to game point in the 5th set. And guess whose turn it is to serve? Of course, it's Talon's. She looks at me on the service line as if to say, "I knew it would be me." So over the noisy crowd, I mouth the words to her, "You are enough." She kind of smirks. She grabs the ball, goes through the service routine, and just nails her serve. And our team goes on to win the point, win that rally, and the championship. Now, the beauty of this story is that Talon simply had to do her part, serve the ball. She was an important part of the team, but not that important. She was mature enough to let her teammates do their part too. It was such a sweet victory for our team, but Talon and I knew it was also a personal victory for her. She had learned how to overcome the obstacle of self-importance, and this freed her up to perform at her very best and get the job done. Now, what about rule number 3? It's not all about you. This rule is similar to rule number 2, but it has more to do specifically with a certain attitude. Have you ever had a prima donna on your team? You know, the type, that temperamental person who has an inflated view of their own importance and talent, and the one who always has to be the star. This type of self-absorption creates excess pressure to perform and a heavy sense of, "It's all about me." The joy of competition is replaced by, it's all about me, so I'd better perform or we won't be successful. Talk about stressful. I mean, confidence is good, but not when it becomes arrogance or self-absorption. As Ryan Holiday says in his book, Ego is the Enemy, arrogance and self-absorption inhibit growth. He says it's easy to be emotionally invested and infatuated with your own work, your own performance. Any and every narcissist can do that. What's rare is not raw talent, skill, or even confidence, but humility, diligence, and self-awareness. Holiday reminds us that humility is key. The best definition I've ever heard of humility is simply being yourself, not puffing yourself up, not putting yourself down. Humility is simply being who you are. It's about keeping things in perspective and having a modest opinion of your own importance, acknowledging that everything doesn't come down to you. When you follow this rule, when you embrace that it's not all about you, it frees you from the obstacle of self-absorption. It's an easy way to take some of the pressure off, to perform as your authentic self, and to be kind to yourself when your performance on the field or the court is less than perfect. So if you're ready to take your performance to the next level, I encourage you to remember and embrace the 3 rules. Instead of self-consciousness, focus on self-awareness. Instead of self-importance, focus on giving generously. And instead of self-absorption, focus on humility, being yourself. And like so many athletes I've worked with who've gone on to do great things, these rules will continue to empower you to put your focus where it counts, on being yourself in your sport and in all areas of your life. Thanks for listening today, and feel free to go check out our website at thewinnerwill.com to learn how you can take your performance to the next level.